Hi, my name is Ayesha Husain, and this is my novel, What More Could She Possibly Want? I will be reading an excerpt from the start of the novel to just give you an idea of what the novel is all about. So this is the prologue. In her dream, Noor yelled and screamed as her mother dragged her 6-year-old self by the arm to a small storeroom to lock her up as punishment. There were steel trunks against 3 walls, and the 4th had a door that looked like a monster's mouth. Noor cried and begged her mother not to lock her in, promising that she would forever be good. But her pleas were ignored. She was shoved into the storeroom, and the door was locked from the outside. Enveloped in the cold and dark, she stood shivering, deriving comfort from the quivering line of light that peered from between the cold floor and the steel door. Her heart racing, eyes shut tight, and fists clenched, Noor stopped crying lest the sound attract some monster or the big black ants who could eat her alive. But somewhere, a monster had awakened. From the corner of the storeroom, she heard the sound of a body dragging itself along. She opened her eyes and saw before her a woman, her chin resting on her chest, hair in disarray, her fiery red eyes staring straight into Noor's. She had a troubled, sinister expression on her face, and Noor thought the woman was possessed by the devil. Noor knew she could keep the woman at bay only if she prayed. Bringing her shivering palms together, she whispered, "Save me, God, for I am powerless before this evil," over and over again. Distracted by a sound, Noor turned her head, her prayer briefly interrupted. In that moment of inattention, the monstrous woman lunged forward. A terrified and crying Noor yelled and banged on the door with all her might, but no one heard her cries. With cold and clammy hands, she turned the door's knob furiously over and over again till the door miraculously opened and she escaped. Upon waking, Noor was able to recall with utmost clarity her panic and guilt as she was led towards the storeroom. She remembered the feeling of terror as she stood helpless before the sinister woman. But try as she might, she could not recall the deed that had led to her punishment. The memory of the dream did not leave her and disturbed her for days to come. So this is how the novel begins. And the reason I chose to begin with a nightmare was because I wanted to establish a mood and highlight a few ideas, and one being of crippling fear, uncertainty, having no control, being led to a storeroom as to be punished, but punished for what? So it's almost like this child has no control over her life, what's happening to her situation. She's thrust into something which she's obviously afraid of. Nobody's listening to her. So before I talk about anything else, I'll just share my journey with you. So I have been an educationist for most of my life. I was also a student of literature since the age of 13 all the way up to my master's, which I did from CNED. I did a master's in literature, English literature, after which I taught for many, many years. I taught literature to O-level students, A-level students. I also taught at the university. It was a Goldsmiths program that जिसके मैंने 1-2 courses पढ़ाए थे. So I continued teaching for many, many years and then decided to pursue an MPhil in education. So I went to Beacon House University, did an MPhil from there. And while I was doing my MPhil, I was in my 2nd year when I applied for the Chevening scholarship. And I also applied to Cambridge and Oxford to do an MPhil in education. And I was fortunate enough to get not 1 but 2 scholarships. I got the Cambridge Trust scholarship and the Chevening scholarship, which covered pretty much my entire year in Cambridge. And so I decided to go to Cambridge, and I did an MPhil in educational leadership and school improvement. So the book is divided into 5, you can call them 5 books. So book 1 is called The Perfect Wedding, book 2 is A New Beginning, book 3 is A New Phase, Book 4 is The Retreating Whisperer, and book 5, the last book, is called The Beginning of the End. Each book has different chapters, and each chapter is showing you snippets of Noor's life. So जो पहला chapter which comes right after the nightmare, उसके अंदर आप एक देखेंगे एक लड़की की कहानी जो कि जिसका नाम नूर है, मेन कैरेक्टर, और वो अपने पेरेंट्स के साथ एक डिस्कशन कर रही है. वो शी इज़ नॉट रेडी टू गेट मैरिड, वो नहीं चाहती कि अभी इस 19 साल की उम्र में उसकी शादी हो जाए, लेकिन उसके पेरेंट्स उसको कन्विंस कर लेते हैं कि हमें तुम्हारी बेहतरी का ज़्यादा पता है और हमने ज़िंदगी ज़्यादा देखी है, तो जो हम कह रहे हैं वो वैसे ही होना चाहिए. सो वो फिर अपने पेरेंट्स की बात मान जाती है अपनी वो जो भी उसके पेरेंट्स ने उसके लिए डिसाइड किया होता है. बट एज अ रिज़ल्ट जो होता है उसके बाद, बहुत यंग लड़की है, एक नए घर में जाती है, सो उसका रोल एज अ बहू, एज एक बीवी, और फिर इवेंचुअली एक यंग मदर, एंड देन लेटर ऑन एंड आहिस्ता आहिस्ता आप देखेंगे कि वो अपने हर रोल को किस तरह से निभा रही है. कहीं पे वो उससे गलतियाँ हो रही हैं, कहीं पे वो उसको लग रहा है कि जैसे उसके साथ ज़्यादती हो रही है, कहीं पे उसको लगता है कि मेरी बात नहीं सुनी जा रही है, कहीं पे वो खुश है, कहीं पे वो ना खुश है. तो ये उसकी सारी जर्नी है ऑल द वे टिल द टाइम कि वो 50 साल की हो जाती है. सो इसमें उसके बच्चे भी बड़े हो जाते हैं, बहुत कुछ उसकी ज़िंदगी में होता है, बहुत चेंजेस आते हैं, बहुत करेजियस डिसीजंस वो लेती है, बहुत डर के सहम के वो कुछ ऐसी डिसीजंस या ऐसे चीज़ें करती है जो कि जिसके लिए आपको बहुत स्ट्रेंथ की ज़रूरत होती है, लेकिन वो इवेंचुअली उसमें वो स्ट्रेंथ आ जाती है कि वो अपनी ज़िंदगी को बेहतर बनाती है. सो दिस इज़ व्हाट द नॉवल इज़ ऑल अबाउट. अगर आप ब्रॉडली देखें तो इसमें जो थीम्स हैं वो है वुमेंस एम्पावरमेंट, अ वुमेंस राइट टू चूज़, एंड कि कई दफ़ा आप यंग लड़कियों से या जनरली बाय एंड लार्ज विमेन से उनकी जो है ख्वाहिश पूछते नहीं हैं, उनके ऊपर इम्पोज़ किया जाता है, उन पे लाद दिया जाता है कि ये तुम्हें करना चाहिए. So it's about that. And another important theme, something that was important to me, was to highlight the concept of mental health. कि ज़रूरी नहीं है कि आप you have to be a patient to be suffering from a mental you don't have to have a mental illness, for example, to go and see a therapist. और ये भी मैं highlight करना चाह रही थी कि थेरेपी करवाने में कोई हर्ज नहीं है. अगर आपको लगता है कि आपको एक्सटर्नल हेल्प की ज़रूरत है, आपसे अकेले हैंडल नहीं हो रहा या आपको वो सपोर्ट नहीं मिल रहा जो आप चाहते हैं, तो टू गो टू अ थेरेपिस्ट it could be an option. I've also highlighted that aspect in the novel where you're telling I'm trying to sort of highlight that there are all kinds of therapists. अपना होमवर्क करके जाइए ज़रूर, एंड जहाँ आपको ज़रूरत है, अगर आपको फैमिली से सपोर्ट मिल रही है इमोशनल, दैट्स ग्रेट. बट अगर आपको लगता है कि कहीं आपको एक्सटर्नल हेल्प की ज़रूरत है, सो देयर इज़ नो हार्म इन ऑप्टिंग फॉर थेरेपी. सो एक ये चीज़ मैंने हाईलाइट की है. फिर मैंने हाईलाइट किए डिफ़िकल्ट relationships between parents and child, relationship between a husband and wife, in-laws and a daughter-in-law, and a relationship between friends, etc. So एक and children, so complicated relationships दिखाने की कोशिश की है कि ज़रूरी नहीं है just because you have या ये आपके बच्चे हैं या पेरेंट्स हैं तो आपकी स्मूथ ही रिलेशनशिप रहेगी, उसमें भी अप्स एंड डाउन्स आते हैं. सो आई हैव स्पोकन अबाउट दैट. देयर इज़ अ ह्यूज एलिमेंट ऑफ नॉवल में सिन एंड रिडेम्पशन भी कवर होती है इसमें, एंड अ वुमेंस राइट, लाइक आई सेड, कि वुमेन एम्पावरमेंट, औरत की जो एंड नॉट जस्ट वुमेन. एक्चुअली जो मेरी नॉवल की डेडिकेशन है वो उसमें मैंने लिखा है that I have dedicated the novel to all women and men who have battled with dark days and persevered. Meaning कि सिर्फ it's not just the woman who sometimes suffers. In this novel, you have a girl जिसको parents ने decide किया है कि this is the person you are going to marry. Similarly, there is a man whose parents have decided this is the person you are going to marry. This is the work that you are going to do. This is how you will lead your life. So both of them are carrying their own baggage, and when they come together, obviously there are issues which give both of them a lot of unhappiness. So it is so I'm talking about both genders, and I've also shown जहाँ पे एक difficult mother-in-law है या एक difficult mother है या difficult father है, for example, then you have two boys who support their mother, اپنی ماں کو وہ سپورٹ کرتے ہیں ایک ایسی چیز میں جس میں شاید نارملی ہم نہیں سمجھتے کہ بچے سپورٹ کریں گے, خاص طور پہ بوائز. سو وہ بھی میں نے دکھانے کی کوشش کی کہ وی ہیو آل کائنڈز آف پیپل اینڈ اٹ از ایٹ دی اینڈ آف دا ڈے واٹ از امپورٹنٹ از ٹو بی کائنڈ ٹورڈز ادر پیپل. آئی تھنک سب سے زیادہ امپورٹنٹ, چاہے وہ بچہ ہو چاہے وہ پیرنٹ ہو, ایک لیول آف ایمپتھی, ایک ایک دوسرے کا احساس ہونا, یہ بہت ضروری ہے, جو کہ میں اپنے ناول میں دکھانے کی کوشش کر رہی ہوں. کیونکہ جہاں کمیونیکیشن ختم ہوتی ہے, جہاں ہم لوگوں کی بات سننا چھوڑ دیتے ہیں, وہیں سے پرابلمس شروع ہوتی ہیں ہر قسم کی. سو کائنڈنس از ایکچولی اے براڈر میسیج. ویمن امپاورمنٹ از اے براڈ میسیج. اپنے آپ کی ہیپینس اپنے اندر ڈھونڈیے, دس از این امپورٹنٹ میسیج. سو یس, اس میں بہت کانفلکٹس ہیں, بٹ اٹ از آلسو اے ناول آف ہوپ. That's what I hope for, that my readers should find courage. Readers should find courage in Noor's story. They should be able to see themselves in Noor's story. They should be able to understand کہ یہاں نور غلط کر رہی ہے یا یہاں وہ صحیح کہہ رہی ہے, یہاں اس کا ہسبینڈ ٹھیک ہے. So I do want the reader to یہ بیچاری ایک لڑکی کی کہانی نہیں ہے. It's a girl جو چوائسیز بناتی ہے اپنی زندگی, رائٹ, کئی چوائسیز اس کو نہیں بنا, پیرنٹس نے بنانے دی ہیں واٹ ایور, بٹ آگے جا کے وہ شی چوزز تھنگس فار ہر سیلف. سو آئی وانٹ ریڈرز ٹو لرن فرام دیٹ. سو آئی ووڈ لائک all my readers, men and women, to pick up this book please and read it. I'm sure you will enjoy the story. یہ بہت simple طریقے سے میں نے لکھی ہے, and that's actually the feedback that I have got from my readers. جتنے لوگوں نے پڑھا ہے انہوں نے یہی مجھے کہا ہے کہ because it's so simple and the chapters are so small that they were able to read the novel in one day. Through this novel I just hope that any young Noor who's facing a dilemma will find the courage to make her life better. It doesn't necessarily mean that you end things. It just means that you work on yourself and find happiness in whichever form that you can, and to be at peace with oneself, to know that whatever you've done is right, whatever feels right to you. I think بہت سارے messages ہیں, I think parents کے لیے بھی ہیں, بچوں کے لیے بھی ہیں. So if I feel 18 years and above, any person who reads it will definitely find that they can connect with something in the novel.